would say anything just to hear what we want, right or wrong. Then we like to be forgiven. We would say anything just to buy overnight. Any cause, oh, we can't all wait to
Hello guys, and welcome to my Glass Cannon Gank Stamina Nightblade build. This is a one-shot, one-kill build. If you guys want to just be hitting things like a truck and killing them instantly, this is the one for you. So to begin, we are a Khajiit to start off. Now this is a Glass Cannon Gank build. Khajiit is a really good option for that crit damage bonus. Wood Elf is going to be a really good option. Red Guard is also a pretty good option. Orc is going to be a really good option. Yeah, pretty much any of the races that give you max stamina, that bonus crit from stealth, anything like that. Khajiit's nice because you get the bonus weapon crit as well. I think Khajiit is probably one of the best options for a glass gank like this. Yet again, I don't know. I think Khajiit's just a pretty good fit for Stamblade in general. But especially this build, the crit damage bonus plus the bonus crit chance is really nice. But yeah, Red Guard would work really well. Orc would be fantastic for a build like this. That bonus melee that bonus melee damage would be really nice. Give you extra damage on the ganks, plus the 6% max stam. So race-wise, you just want to pick something that I think gives you the most amount of damage. So yeah, there we go. Let's take a look at the stats, guys. 64 point stamina to give us 35k stamina on this build. So we've got quite a bit of max stam, not bad at all. Our max health is coming in at just under 20k. Now keep in mind, we do have the Emperorship Alliance bonus, so we have about 2k more HP than normal. Normally we sit at around 17k HP on this build. This is a Glass Cannon Gank build. You're not supposed to do real combat with this build. This is entirely a very specialized build, guys. It's going to give you the ability to kill almost anyone in one shot from stealth. However, you give up that ability to do any kind of like real combat. You can kind of do real combat, but you're going to run out of resources pretty quick. You're not going to last long. Your ultimate goal after a gank is to just get away, not to engage in a fight afterwards. So that's why we don't really care too much about the lower HP value. The max magicka is just under 11k, also very low. It's not important yet again. Our magicka recovery is going to make up for the smaller pool here too. The only recovery that we have that is worth anything is really the magicka recovery, and that is for our cloak and our shade. Cloak and shade are going to be very important to playing the gank style. You're going to need to cloak to make sure you get that guaranteed crit going into your gank, etc. And the getaway is also highly dependent upon having a lot of cloak and shade. Because we have such a big stam pool, even though our stam recovery is low, during the getaway, we can use the stam pool to get away and just kind of drain it, and then rely on the magicka recovery to be kind of that resource that we always get a little bit of. So there you go. This build can pop some pretty good cloak uptime, even though it is a Glass Cannon Gank build, and that is exactly what we want. So that's why our magicka recovery is a little higher. Our health recovery is very low. We don't focus on it. Our stamina recovery is fairly low as well. We'll buff up for you, though, so you get to see it when we buff up. Yeah, it gets up to 1k, so it's not anything crazy at all, but it's not terrible. On our bow bar, we're actually running the Sensei bow on the back bar, so we get out almost up to 1300 stam recovery on the back bar. So on our back bar, our sustain is actually quite a bit better than it looks on the front bar. So this is where you spend most of your time when you're on the defensive anyways on the bow bar. So there you go. That's why we've got the Sensei bow there. For the weapon damage on this build, guys, we are buffed in cloak, coming in at 4,536. We have got automaton on top. So with our auto bonus, we are at 5,100 weapon damage in our cloak, plus our infused bow buff puts us at 5,700 damage in cloak. Yeah, huge amounts of weapon damage on 60% crit. This build does not play around. We are not on this build to take prisoners. We have actually a little bit more crit than we should have. We should have around 60 to 65% crit normally. We get a bit of a bonus from the Emperorship here as well. But yeah, that's all I'm saying. That is massive. Look at that weapon damage and that crit. This means that we pretty much are going to kill everything from stealth. Now let's scroll down a little bit here towards our armor, our physical spell resistance values. These are also not crazy high. It's not very important that we have crazy high of these values. 19 19k is like not bad, but it's not anything crazy. Our crit resist is at 23 or 2.3k. This is a lot higher than it should be. I didn't transmute all my gear, but ideally, if you're going gank style, I would say run full divines. Just go full damage. You could go for the mix of well-fitted impen that I have on right now. It'll give you an easier time getting away, but once you play the build more, I would say full divines is definitely the way to go because you just want to crank out more damage. So yeah, these defensive stats are, again, a little bit higher than they should be on such a glass cannon gank build. We could invest a little bit more in damage here. Now, for our physical penetration, we are coming in at almost 7k base physical penetration, and we are running surprise attack as well. So in total, we have 12k physical penetration when we debuff the target on this build. Incredible amounts of physical pen. We're going to hit really hard through armor, etc. I mean, on this build, you saw in the intro video, we ganked 30k HP players in heavy armor. And the physical penetration is a big part of why we can do that. So for the Munduses that we're running, definitely go with the Warrior. You could go with the Lover here. The Lover's going to ultimately increase your penetration, giving you more burst damage against those tankier targets. However, the Warrior, I think, is the better bet because this will help you burst through damage shields, etc. Most of the time, you don't hit damage shields that often on this build because we are ganking. You just go straight for the HP bar more than anything else. That being said, though, I do like running the Warrior just because it's more well-rounded. The increased damage to damage shields, as well as the increased healing, is nice. This build sports a very powerful Vigor tooltip, so the Warrior is going to play into that. We have got Stage 4 Vampirism. This is a must-have for the Stage 4 Vampirism sneak passive. We don't have the sustain to stay in Cloak on this build indefinitely, so we must have this Darkstalker passive. Without the Darkstalker passive, we're not mobile enough on this build, so you have to be a Vampire for it in order to get the functional sneak capabilities that we want here. And then finally, guys, for the food that we're using the Candied Jester's Coins. This is a food that came out during one of the holiday events, and it gives you max stamina and magicka recovery. Exactly what we need on this build. We need more max stam for the damage, and then mag recovery for that sustain. This is a unique food. There's no other food that really does this, but this is the one you want to run. It's very cheap to buy, though, so don't feel like you'll have a tough time getting it. It's just a blue food. It's quite easy to get your hands on. There you go. Alright guys, so let's take a peek at the gear that we're running on this build. So, to begin, we are playing a Glass Cannon gank spec, and the sets we're going to run are reflecting that. So let's start off. The first set that we have on is a one-piece Molekena, paired with the one-piece Veladrith. This was chosen simply because these two in combination are going to give us a huge amount of weapon damage, and that's going to be fantastic for our Glass Cannon build. Now, what we could have done is gone with a one-piece Krogs here. Krogs is ultimately going to give us more penetration that will increase our damage more than what the weapon damage from a one Kenna or one Veladrith would. However, that one-piece penetration will not increase our damage against the damage shields. So yet again, I opted out of that for the dual weapon damage, which is just the better outgoing damage source versus everything. So it's up to you. If you want to go for more of a tank-focused killing spec on this, again, you want to kill those heavy armor players easier and easier, Krogs is going to be the way to go on this build. For the next set that we have the 5-piece Spriggans, 2-piece max stamina, 1-piece weapon damage, and then finally we get that 5-piece 3,332 physical penetration. This is going to be about a 6 or 7% damage increase. Very, very nice. This is a fantastic, fantastic set for a gank Nightblade because that increased penetration is ultimately the biggest deciding factor as to how much outgoing damage we have. So this is going to be great. It makes killing heavy armor players very, very easy on this build. It doesn't even matter, honestly. Like 30k HP or less, and they are susceptible to getting ganked by you. So this build hits so darn hard, there's just nobody's safe. That's the way to put it. Nobody is safe. So for the final set that we're running, guys, we actually have a 5-piece Automaton on. Now, for this final set, you actually have a little bit of option. We are using the Incapacitating Strike as our ultimate. Now, this deals disease damage, and this is not buffed by Automaton. So that is the one downside to running Automaton here, is it will not buff your incap. That being said, you only throw your incap down every second kill or so, so a majority of your damage is actually not coming from incap, it's coming from your other abilities, light attacks, etc. So auto is a really good choice because a majority of your damage is going to be physical damage minus your ultimate. So yeah, if you don't want to run auto or you don't have the set, you can also go for Hulking Draugr. Hulking Draugr is going to give you damage to all your outgoing attacks, except it will not give you as much damage as auto gives to your physical attacks. The other big upside to running auto is that if you don't want to run in-cap and you want to run Flawless Dawnbreaker, auto is going to push your tooltips absolutely insanely high on this build. I think you could get like a 15k plus surprise attack if you ran Flawless Dawnbreaker with auto on this spec. So there you go. Automaton was chosen for that reason. You could definitely go with Hulking Draugr if you feel like you want to run something that gives you a little bit more damage on the in-cap. That being said, though, auto is just like all in all one of, if not the best damage set in the game when it comes to physical damage, and that is why we chose it, because it's going to give us that huge consistent burst at all times. Now, something that I want to note about all the sets that I'm wearing, guys, none of them are situational. None of these sets are going to give us a situational increase in damage. Every single one of these sets is going to increase our damage at all times, and that is very important for a burst spec, I think. Now, you can do the situational burst spec, and you will ultimately be able to hit harder with something like Clever Alchemist, etc. However, the big downside to doing something like that is that you cannot consistently go for the burst when the opportunity is there. As someone who's done a lot of PvP, I'm a firm believer that that when you use sets that give you the buff all the time, you take advantage of the opportunity in the moment, and taking advantage of that opportunity in the moment is almost always better than waiting 5 or 10 seconds for an optimal cooldown. So that is why we have no situational burst sets on this build. It was 100% uptime on all of these things, so we will always have this huge damage on the spec. So finally, guys, for the bow bar, we are running, like I had mentioned, the one-piece Senchei. That's just for a bit of recovery on our bow. We play defensively on the bow bar, so you want the Senchei here. Now, some people would say go Master Bow here. Do not go Master Bow. We don't really use Poison Injection at all on this build. A huge part of playing this build right is one shot, one kill. You don't want to give anybody any notice that you're about to hit them until they're dead. That's when you want them to know that that you just hit them, when they're dead, and that's it. So Poison Injection, Master Bow is not a good idea for this build, because you're just going to alert the person that the gank is coming, and they'll be prepared for it, and it'll be harder to get the one shot on them than if you just hit them from full stealth. So there you go, guys. Definitely go with the Senchei Bow here. So for the weapons, the traits on the weapons, we've gone Infused on the back bow with the weapon spell damage enchant. Now, we still go Infused back bow because we lead with the bow heavy attack into our combo. Leading with the bow heavy attack will give us that bow buff even if we weapon swap into a gap closer. A little bit of a sweet change that ZeniMax did this patch is that even if you swap after using your bow light or heavy attacks, you still get the enchantment buff off your bow in the Summerset patch. And that's not something that used to happen. You used to just overwrite your bow enchant and you'd only get your front bar enchant. So this way you actually get both, which is really sweet. So there you go. And then on the greatsword, or sorry, on the dual wield bar, we have gone with Nirnhoned on our main hand, and we have Precise on the offhand. Now on the offhand, I think that Sharpened would actually be a better bet. I've just left it with Precise because yet again, I didn't have the transmute myself, and I didn't want to transmute, didn't want to go grind it out to transmute this build, and I thought Precise would be just fine. It worked just fine for me. We still hit crazy hard, but like I said, Sharpened is going to increase your damage even further. Precise is nice because you get that increased crit chance, but this build rocks 60% plus crit, so it's not a huge necessity. Nirnhoned on the front bar, definitely. This is just going to up your damage big time. The front bar is one of the biggest determining factors of how much damage your dual wield bar deals. So Nirnhonding the front bar on dual wield is almost better than it is on Nirnhonding any other weapon, because Nirnhoned on the front bar, you essentially get the full Nirnhoned bonus on your dual wield, plus half of whatever other trait you put on your back bar. So there you go. Definitely Nirnhoned the front bar. Now for these weapons, guys, they are both auto swords. You have to farm these. They can be a bitch to farm. If you're going to run Hulking Draugr, it's got to be Hulking Draugr swords as well. Because we run Senchei on swap, the weapon farming is a necessity. Sorry, everybody. At least it's not Maelstrom stuff. So, for the enchants on this, we just have the normal magic damage and restore stam. Ideally, you want to go for Disease enchant here. Maybe even go for an Oblivion enchant. We have such a high crit rate, the Disease enchant is going to be better, I think. And we have a high penetration rate. So, yeah, definitely go Disease. I think Disease front bar, Poison back bar would probably be ideal. Could go Oblivion, but I don't think it's going to be as good as Disease and Poison. For the rings, guys, we have full weapon damage enchants on the rings. Absolutely must for that glass cannon damage. Now, all of these rings are robust. Ideally, if I had the transmutation stones, we would infuse all these rings, and we would be rocking over 6k weapon damage on this build. You would get more weapon damage than this max stam is worth, so infuse these rings would up the damage of this build at the cost of your stam pool, but we still have over a 30k stam pool then. We'd have around 32k stam, so it's not a huge deal, even if we infuse these bad boys. Yep. Definitely the way to go if you want to dedicate yourself to the glass spec. Go for infused on the rings and necklace here. And then for the gear itself, guys, like I had mentioned, you want to go full divines, I think. Full divines is going to give you the most damage on this spec. Now, I myself went for a mix of impenetrable and well-fitted. That's just the traits that I had on my gear. I have 1 divines on the auto, as you can see there. So not a ton of divines, unfortunately, for me. However, I would recommend you guys go for the full divines. Definitely do if you're setting this build up yourself or if you have a set of divines. The impen well fitted, like I said, it's good for the survivability, but divines in the end is going to be better because you just want to go for max damage. So if we just took a look at the gear that we're running here and we compared this build to like what we could potentially have if we had perfect traits and golded this out, we would be up like probably 5 to 6% damage from where we are now. So this build still has quite a lot of work to go for me. And when you guys see the footage, keep in mind that this is not even a max spec. We could potentially be hitting harder with this than we do in the footage. So this is just a really good glass cannon, I think, Nightblade spec in general, because you don't even need to max it out fully, and it already starts to hit really hard. So let's take a look at the skills that we're using, guys. Let's begin on our dual wield bar. This is where all your burst skills are going to be. This is where all your damage is going to be on for the most part. So the first ability that we have is Surprise Attack, and we are going to fully buff with the pot so you guys can see that tooltip. 14,482 physical damage with our Surprise Attack while we're in Cloak. Massive amounts of damage. It gives us, on top of it, that big physical resistance debuff, which is going to give us that 13k total penetration. And then on top of it, if we attack out of stealth, we stun the enemy with the surprise attack and set them off balance for 5 seconds. We deal 10% extra damage to an off-balance opponent, so this is really good yet again. Yeah, surprise attack is absolutely brutal. If you stun someone with it, you're pretty much just hitting them with unending in caps. This build has an insane surprise attack tooltip. Like I said, if we ran Flawless Dawnbreaker, we could easily push a 15k surprise attack tooltip, maybe even 16k. Yeah. Enough said. This is your primary spammable. We don't need an execute because this hits so damn hard. We don't run an execute on this build because this is going to be your execute. Ambush is the next ability that we have. This is going to be your primary gap closer, and it's also here for another fun reason, that Empower, giving the damage of our next light attack 40% additional damage. Now, as you noticed, we have gone dual wield on our front bar, and the reason I went dual wield over greatsword is for one simple fact. The dual wield light attack deals significantly more damage than a greatsword light attack does. So, when using a gap closer like Ambush, getting that 40% bonus damage on the dual wield light attack is a lot better than getting it on the greatsword. So that is why we have gone with the dual wield bar for that huge empower bonus on our light attack. You will hit 5k to 6k plus crits with your light attacks on players with this build. It hits freaking hard. So hard. Like, the light attack, like, oh my god. This build hits so hard, your light attacks are going to be like other builds' normal skills, and then your skills are going to be like other builds' alts, and your alts are just going to be on another level. So there you go. Ambush is going to be super great for that Empower. Not to mention, Ambush is really nice just animation cancel combo-wise. You can make a really smooth gank combo with Ambush, allowing all your attacks to land at roughly the same moment. And that's another reason why I have it here. It's such a good gap closer for that reason. The next skill that we have is Resolving Vigor. This is your primary heal. That's pretty much all we have it here for, just for when we need to heal. During the course of good combat, you probably won't need to bust this out. Hopefully you don't get caught too often. The whole point of this build, like I said, is very high stealth uptime. Come out of stealth, one shot, one killed, right back into it. So hopefully you don't need to pound Vigor too much. This will save you, though, from one player. Not much more than that. The next skill that we have is Channeled Acceleration. Now, you can take either morph of this Psijic ability, but the important part is that you have this ability because it gives you that minor force buff. Very important. Now, each morph is going to work great for this build. The channeled one is awesome because we have so much stealth uptime. We can cast this at any moment, and it'll give us a really long buff to that minor force, and we don't need the Major Expedition because we get it from the bow bar. Now, Race Against Time is also a great option, like I said, because it gives you that sprint cost reduction. It, of course, doesn't last as long as the Channeled Acceleration, but you don't have to channel it. So there's that. I like this one because it gives you more of a viability of getting out of a fight if you're out of stealth or marked too heavily to re-enter stealth. So there you go. Kind of up to you guys which morph you want to take here. Both are really good, though. The next skill that we have is Relentless Focus. This is going to be here for that minor berserk as well as the spectral bow that it shoots. Just the icing on the cake. If you hit someone with this bow, it's pretty much a death sentence. What's our tooltip here? 25k. Yeah. People not surviving that. That's super brutal. So there you go, guys. This is also disease damage, so auto does not buff this. So this, like our ultimate, gets kind of screwed over by the auto. So another reason maybe to go with the Hulking Draugr. That being said, like I have said many times with this build, the majority of your kills are going to come from these two skills here and your light attacks. So auto is still a really good choice for this spec. So there you go. Relentless Focus. That minor berserk is very important for the burst. The bow is really nice too when it pops out. That 10% stamina recovery is pretty sweet too. So it's a great skill for this build. And then finally, the ultimate on this spec, guys, we have gone with Incapacitating Strike. Like I had mentioned, if you want, you can run Flawless Dawnbreaker. We've got the 21k tooltip on Incap with Automaton on. So if we had Hulking Draugr, maybe a 23k tooltip on that bad boy. Compared to Flawless Dawnbreaker coming in at just about a 21k on Smiting, and then Flawless coming in at 18. So these are your options, really, for this build. You can go with Incap, Smiting, or Flawless. Totally up to you. I think Dawnbreaker of Smiting would actually be a really good option for the build because we hit so hard with our normal kit anyway. We almost don't need the alt dump. That being said, with this build's damage, running Incap is just a pretty big middle finger. This is going to allow you to kill pretty much anything. On top of it, if you lead with the Incap, you get that 20% damage bonus against them. So yeah, you pretty much do Incap into Surprise Attack, and your Surprise Attack is going to do almost as much damage as your opening Incap did. So there you go. Very, very powerful ultimate. Synergizes really well on the Gankblade. Yeah, so it's either this or Flawless, really. Those are your alt choices. You want that hard-hitting spike for the ganks, though. So on the bow bar now, the first ability we have is Poison Injection. This ability is a non-necessity. I used this during the build video, or during the build footage, and I almost didn't even bust the skill out once. You can put anything else that you want here. I would actually recommend going for maybe the Meditate ability. The Meditate is probably going to be a really good call because it's going to give you the sustain that you need on this build. You run out of resources pretty fast, especially if you get a lot of ganks in a row. And then you just got to wait and stealth a little bit to get them back. Meditate is going to allow you to get those resources back quicker. So there's that. I think Meditate would be a great skill to put here. Poison Injection itself, like I said, is not a great skill for this build. You want that one shot, one kill. Poison Injection is almost never going to provide that for you. If anything, if you want more damage on your burst bar, you could even run Infused Imbue Weapon to Crushing Weapon, and this will just give you more burst on the bow bar. If you're going to go that route, though, put Crushing Weapon on your dual wield bar, and then do the Snipe into Light Attack, and then swap into dual wield Crushing Weapon, and you get the more damage on your Crushing Weapon from your dual wield bar then. This build hits so darn hard, though, you can just kill like 20k HP players you can kill with your Snipe. Like Snipe, Light Attack, Poison Injection. So that's why I say Crushing Weapon could be a really good option too, because you add a lot of ranged gank viability to this build as well. Like 20 to 25k potential ranged gank kills. So huge amounts of viability there with the Crushing Weapon. You can always go with the Fighter's Guild Silver Leash. This is going to give you a little bit of a weapon damage bonus, but Crushing Weapon is going to hit a bit harder than this will. So there you go. For the next skill we have Focused Aim, and yeah, the reason we went with the Focused Aim morph is for good reason. Coming out of Cloak, our Focused Aim is still coming in at almost 17.5k, so huge damage on it. And the big reason we went with Focused Aim is for that minor fracture to reduce their physical resist for 10 seconds. We open with the Focused Aim from Stealth, so any debuff we get off of our opening snipe is actually going to affect our whole combo. Like I had said with the enchant before, when we open with our bow bar and open with, let's say, the snipe from Crouch, etc., the snipe is going to land, with our light attack, it's going to put that little bit of a debuff on them. The light attack is going to give us that infused buff, and then we are already weapon swapping onto our dual wield bar, and we've got all these buffs up. Go into that surprise attack for even more penetration. So we actually get 13k penetration on this build with the snipe as well. So yeah, there you go. Huge amounts of damage. And this snipe hits so hard, like I said, 20k HP players you can just kill with snipe. You don't even need to get melee range because we have so much damage on this build, especially if you're going to slot imbued weapon. The next ability that we have is Efficient Purge. This is here to help us get away. This is part of the getaway here. You need to have it if you're going to fight Mark, etc. Efficient Purge is the only way you're going to escape that by yourself on the Nightblade. So that's why we have it here. Even if you can't re-enter Cloak, you know, part of the one-shot, one-kill build is that we only hit one target, and we don't attack them long, so it's very easy to just re-enter Crouch after. So Purge is going to help you re-entering Crouch too, because, well, you can purge the marks off, and then if you don't have mag left, you can get back into Crouch at least and not have the marks on you. So there you go. You got to have Purge, I think, for a build like this. It's just going to help you with that clutch survival when you get caught out of stealth. So you got to have something like this. The next ability we have is Shadow Image, and this is the same as Purge. We need this for when things don't go right. On this build, you can actually like just set Shadow Image down before you go in for the gank and use it as your kind of teleport back. I would highly recommend you get in the practice of doing this because you don't have to reveal yourself to set down that image, right? You do have to break stealth, but you can just line of sight, drop the image, and then go into stealth, and they still don't know you're there. So Shadow Image is really good for this build. Because we hit so darn hard, if you can put the image in a safe spot, go down into a dangerous spot, get a kill, teleport back, Shadow Image will do work. It is so good for that. So there you go. And then finally, the last ability we have is Shadowy Disguise. Access to stealth, which we need, and then we get that direct damage bonus. Or sorry, then we get that guaranteed crit coming out of our cloak. And that guaranteed crit is really nice because we are playing a gank build, and we want to have as much damage coming out of cloak as possible. So there you go. And then finally, guys, for the ultimate, I've gone with Soul Tether. Yet again, I would recommend the Psijic ult here. Psijic ult's going to survive a little bit more than Tether will. Tether's nice because it'll stun and hurt everybody, but we don't have the sustain to really escape after dropping a Tether like that. That's why I say Undo. Because Undo not only will allow you to potentially escape, but it'll also give you the resource back. So there you go. I just have Tether here as a placeholder because I have to grind Psijic on this guy, and I have not. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the champion points on this build. So to start off, in the tower tree, 16 Warlord and 14 Sprinter. We got to break free and we got to sprint. Hopefully we don't get caught too much, but that's where the points are. In the Lover tree, we got 56 Arcanist and 56 Mooncalf. Big focus on the regens here because, well, that's really where we have the sustain in, is just kind of those little bits of regen. And then Tenacity, we have a few points in as well. Like I said, this is a gank spec. You won't be pulling lots of heavy attacks. Just have to rely on high stealth uptime and that regen alone. And then in the Shadow tree, we've got 61 Tumbling and 37 Shadow Ward to Befoul. A little bit in Befoul because we do have the healing reduction abilities, but they're not super important. Tumbling, very important. Got to roll a lot. Shadow Ward, very important. Got to block a lot. Yeah, the only way we get the Defile is from the ult, but Defile's not even important. One shot, one kill build, guys. We don't need things like Defile, damage over time. Not important, so we don't focus on that there. But yeah, we got to roll dodge and we got to block. This is going to be our survivability. In the blue tree, we've got nothing in the Apprentice to begin. In the Atronach, 81 Mastered Arms and 39 Physical Weapon Expert. Huge focus on Mastered Arms because almost all our attacks are direct damage. So we got a huge amount of points in there. And then Physical Weapon Expert because we are using those powerful light attacks, and we got the heavy light attacks from the bow as well. And then the Tactician passive. When we roll dodge and attack, we set an enemy off balance. This is more nice for the getaway because you can do a roll dodge, partially charged heavy just to stun someone. And then in the Ritual tree, guys, we have got 49 Mighty, 41 Piercing, and 40 Precise Strikes. A little bit of an even spread here. Big focus on just the physical damage aspect. Yep. This will increase all our physical damage, increase our penetration, and increase our crit damage. All of this is very important for the gank build, so we need all of this. And then finally, that Exploiter passive is very important. Increase our damage to off-balance enemies by 10%. Our surprise attack sets people off balance, so this is how our surprise attack is going to deal more and more damage to an opponent. In the red tree, in the Steed, we've got 61 Ironclad and 63 Resistant. 15 spell shield, 15 medium armor focus. A little bit of points here just to bulk up our base resistances, which is nice. 61 ironclad just to counter that incoming direct damage, and then 63 resistant for that crit resist. If you're running full divines, this is what your base crit resist is probably going to be on this build because you have full divines on, and that is totally okay. We're so squishy already. We don't survive long out of stealth, so there you go. And then in the lady tree, we've got 27 hardy, 27 elemental defender, 23 thick skin. Nice even spread here. We do have cloak to suppress dots, but this is a heavy dot meta, so still focus on thick skin there. Hardy elemental defender, just bulking up our physical and magical defenses. And then in the lord tree, we have got 19 in quick recovery for a little bit of healing. And that is the build, ladies and gentlemen. Alright guys, so let's do some PvP commentary. So just a quick note guys, I didn't get a ton of footage on this build. This is a very specialized gank spec, and I did enjoy playing it during the time that I played it. However, it's not something that I wanted to play too terribly much of. I did want to move on eventually. So just keep that in mind. We don't have a ton of PvP commentary, and it's ganks, and ganks are one shot, one kill. As you saw there, we go for the failed gank on the other guy, turn around, and just one bang the other guy, heavy attack into incap and a bash. Huge combos. So this is important on this build to nail those combos. Here you see on this player here, we get huge amounts of damage into him. We land a perfect combo on him. We go for the snipe, the bow light attack, into the ambush, into the light attack, into our ultimate, and we put huge damage. I think we just used the concealed weapon actually, or surprise attack on him there. But we do huge amounts of damage coming out of that combo. So it's very, very important to make sure that you keep your buffs up and you go into that combo with all your buffs up and you nail the combo. I can't stress that enough. The cleaner the combo is, the better chance you have of getting the kill. Here you see we get the really good snipe, but this guy is very fast to break the CC, and he dodge rolls the rest of our combo, and he only takes about half the damage there. There's that purge coming in, absolutely clutch. Go for a quick purge there to get away. The getaway, very important that you change directions every time you enter stealth. You do not have resources to waste, so you have to be very careful with the getaway on this kind of build. That being said, there you saw just a little bit of stealth direction change, a little bit of terrain usage, and we were able to escape, and we're going to try to re-engage with this Sork here. She is unfortunately running the defensive morph of Rune Cage, so we quickly retaliate by going right back into Cloak. And here you see that we stay in Cloak. It's important to note that we're staying in Cloak here because this is going to prevent us from showing ourselves, prevent the dots from pulling us out of Crouch. If we go into Crouch, the dots aren't suppressed and we'll be pulled out of stealth. It's very important on this build, guys, for you not to be seen. As you can see, we already have a lot of guys looking for us, and we don't want to show our face. We got a huge snipe poison injection on that guy. We don't manage to actually get the last bit of the combo in, thanks to the Rune Cage again, but we break the CC, put the poison inject down, and finish her off. There's a kill right there that I think would have been better had we run the Psijic skill, imbue weapon. But anyway, we switch to this Templar here, throw huge damage, the full snipe light attack into the ambush, into light attack, into the ult. We drop it on her block, but we still tear through her defense, and we managed to finish her off with just a little bit more pepper there. Very, very nice kill. But yeah, there you guys can see just the insane damage on this spec. Literally no one is safe. We go for the heavy attack out of stealth here. She does not break it. I try to take advantage of the moment, put some damage into her, drop the ult, get her to literally 1%. Oh my gosh, and now we're in big trouble. Now we got a lot of players on us, and we've been marked. Maybe it was a little bit too zealous to go for that kill there. I can't stress how important it is to be patient on a build like this and just pick your kills. Don't be over-aggressive, because there you see, we did a good job. I mean, we kited them pretty hard, and I think we would have been able to get away because we had purged the final mark there. But unfortunately, it was just too much damage, and we weren't able to survive the defensive play. So there you go. So something that I did want to show you guys about this build is that it is really trolly in keep fights because of shade. You're literally just a glass cannon, right? So you put your shade at the top of the keep, and you just jump down, kill something, and then shade back up if you either fail or after you get your kill. And yeah, this is Nightblade Troll Mode 101. As you can see, though, unfortunately, it's a little bit laggy. I only played this build for a few hours, so I didn't get a ton of playtime on it. And Vivek is just always... There's no players on any other servers except this one, and this one is always so laggy. So I apologize, guys. Maybe Zos can fix the servers. Anyway, so as you can see there, we set the shade down, and we're just going to open with a big light attack into the in cap there. Light attack into the concealed weapon. Huge amounts more damage off that concealed weapon than the in cap itself did. Because of that bonus damage from the in cap, just buffing our concealed weapon like crazy. You should see so much damage out of this build. Doesn't matter. Sword and board, heavy armor, they are not safe. They're going to take huge damage from this spec. We jump right back down here, do a little bit more trolling, get the rune cage. Very, very laggy on the CC break, but fortunately we do manage to hit the shade before we die. So we do get teleported back up, and we're going to get a sweet res from a friendly player here. Set our buffs down again and right back to troll mode. Let's see if we can finally score a nice gank in this leg here. Here we go, the fully charged heavy into the ambush. The heavy, I think, missed, but the ambush there lands, stunning him from the stealth, of course. Huge amounts of damage with that ult, and we bring him down. Managed to capitalize on a nice kill there. And I'm just going to do a little bit of skip forward here because there's not a lot of action until the front door here got broken. Here we see that EP had repaired the front door. I go for a really quick kill on this guy here and pop my shade right back behind the front door that they just repaired. Yet again, showcasing how OP that shade is for kinds of defense. Because this build hits so hard, it just makes it ideal because you don't have to be down there long. You seriously just drop one combo, teleport right back up, and you're totally fine. Here you see we're going to try to go for another kill here. Rune cage, baby. Going to go for another shade and get out of there. So just a little showcase of how trolly you can be on this build. And you can actually do like quite a bit of damage with a defensive position like that. You can defend it quite well, which is pretty cool for a spec like this. Anyhow, let's move on to the next clip, guys. We're going to open with a really big, clean gank on this guy. Big, heavy attack off the bow into ambush. Now, that's your two kinds of ganks that you do. The snipe gank to intro, that's going to be your hardest hitting gank for the more tanky targets. But you also have just the bow heavy attack into the ambush, and that works quite well as well. It still does a lot of damage, and the big advantage of that combo is that it's very fast and easy to do. And as you can see there, we're just going to get this guy right off his horse. Huge, huge damage. That guy is not running enough armor. We kill him almost twice. We almost killed him twice over. Poor guy. There you can see again, we just reposition in the field here. Very careful, like I said, with the positioning. We want to be very quick to re-enter stealth. As you see there, we were not fast to re-enter stealth because the player was going a little bit too quick on their horse. We popped 2 purges and managed to get off a really clutch cloak here. Get a roll dodge coming into stealth. Very important that you guys know that if the eye is closing and you roll dodge as the eye is closing, you will not reopen the eye during that roll. It's only when the eye is fully closed that you will reopen it. And there you see again, we go for a huge hammer kill on this guy, right back into stealth. The power of this build, and we need to maintain that stealth uptime. It's all about that. There you see we pop out for a second, right back into cloak to prevent them from finding us. And I end up just disengaging with these guys because there's a lot of Nightblades hanging around in the field now, and this is quite open. But anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this build. It was a little bit of a different style from me, but that's probably what you guys are used to seeing, is different styles from me. And yeah, last video you guys said that my Stamblade didn't do enough damage. Well, here you go, guys. For you guys who are looking for that hungry Stamblade damage build, this is the one that no one is safe from. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more just builds. I don't know. I always try something different. I'm thinking about an HP Templar build right now. I've got something a little bit trolly in the works that I want to try out. But anyway, there you go, guys. We play live on Twitch. If you want to catch me live for the builds while we make them, or just come hang out, ask questions, etc., chat with me. I always enjoy it. And finally, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They are a VPN for gamers. If you guys get shit pinged to your favorite games, give them a shot. They are completely free to try from the link in the description below. No credit card, nothing. 100% easy to sign up. So there you go. Give it a shot. Have a great night, everybody, and I will see you next time.